Our next learning module is the skill progression for mindfulness-based learning. Within our time together, we have two objectives today. One is to elevate your current teaching practices or leading practices with mindfulness-based learning. And the second objective is being able to read and understand the mindfulness-based learning skill progression. So for our first objective, elevating our current practices. So as we shared in the beginning of the program, Castle has really created a strong essential foundation for social and emotional skills. And it's also amazing this connection with the ripples outside that they have as well. And with the foundation, they really focus on awareness, management, and that more of a reactive side where we notice a skill is a need, then we integrate practices with somewhat of a proactive lens, but often it's more of a reactive piece. So with mindfulness-based learning, we move to more of a deeper level of learning where we extend from that awareness into connection and from a management perspective into regulation and that reactive into proactive, constant proactive cultivation within. And to help visualize this, I like to picture this as a bridge. And mindfulness is the bridge from the social and emotional skill development to a deeper connection. So you can see how the competencies on the left from Castle, and really those are emotional intelligence skills. You can see them on the left, how they transition into their being on the right. So from self-awareness to mindful self-connection, self-management to mindful self-regulation, responsible decision-making to mindful decision-making, and then the two competencies for social and emotional development with the social awareness and relationship skills, those come together and become mindful social connection. And the bridge is helpful because you need both sides. You need to be able to have awareness before you can develop connection. But often we get stuck just on one side of the bridge. And this is an important reminder for us to keep going deeper and extending our learning, teaching, and being deeper. So now what we're going to do is we're going to read the skill progression. I'm going to break down each of the definitions, the main definition with the depth that's there. And then there'll be a secondary slide that kind of peels back the layers and how it might be more helpful to share with the learning community. But just like with mindfulness-based learning in that definition, we want to still maintain and understand the full integrity of what each component means. So this itself is the skill progression. You have access to download this, and how you read this is on the left of that document are extracted definitions from Castle and what each of those components mean for the competencies. And then there's that arrow in the middle to represent that bridge to move to that next level, knowing that we still have the base and the foundation, but to extend it. And then you'll see then on the right side of that document, the mindfulness-based learning skills. And I do want to mention, we do really advocate that you call this mindfulness-based learning and speak the whole thing out loud and not just the acronym. You will notice on the top of the table that we have SEL skills and MBL skills. That's just to like consolidate, but we really would promote the advocacy step of speaking it out loud and being very clear with what it is that we do. So the first competency, and as a reminder, these are the trees in the ecosystem. So the first tree on the left is mindful self-connection. And mindful self-connection takes the skills of identifying, understanding, and recognizing self-awareness. Now, those main actions are from that definition. And then it builds the capacity to attune to the inner experience in the present moment. So how can we understand what is happening around us to understand what's happening within us and attune to be in tune with the messages within our bodies. It allows for a deeper connection with the heart, body, and mind. And it supports the individual to take intentional action with integrity, meaning when we are connected within, we understand what those messages are, then we can take action with who we are and our values and staying within integrity, especially sometimes when there might be tricky situations in education where we have to take action and it might not feel connected within ourselves. How can we still do that and maintain our integrity? So mindful self-connection allows us to do that. So the main message is that with a strong self-connection, you are aware of how your heart, body, and mind influence your actions. The next tree, or the competency within our skill progression, is mindful self-regulation. And this expands from identifying and managing emotions, thoughts, and behaviors into integrating proactive practices to regulate the nervous system. So as we shared, when we're talking about self-management, that's a reactive piece. Something happens, I have to manage it. Versus when we have mindful self-regulation, we are constantly cultivating our own nervous system's regulation over time. This increases intentional responses, not reactions, responses to unexpected and emotionally charged experiences. So when we are constantly regulated and something happens or a behavior happens in our classroom, we are in a more regulated space. And just like that mountain, we have that moment to really respond in a way that is supportive and nurturing the experience. It strengthens resilience and invites the opportunity for co-regulation with others. So just like in that framework where we talk about, and I shared about the lake and that reflection piece, when ourselves are regulated, we are reflecting that back out into the environment as well in all of the other ripples. That is our co-regulation. So the main central message for this component is that when you are regulated, you create a way of being that is proactive and naturally regulating throughout the day that supports any situation within and beyond the classroom. The third tree is mindful decision-making. And this ensures that there's caring and constructive choices being made with presence and intentionality. When we are having responsible decision making, that means we understand that what we're doing is responsible. It's just a responsible thing to do. When we shift to mindful decision making, that means we really understand that why and we're connected to that why, and we do so with intention. It's not just a passive space, it's now this deeper space with this decision making. It's rooted in maintaining self-connection while making decisions that positively impact the self and the community. So for us to be able to make mindful decisions, we have to lean on that first tree. What are those messages within my body telling me? And how can I use that to really understand with integrity the decisions that I make? So you can kind of see how these trees all connect together, just like our skills build upon each other. And also the last part here about positively impacting the self and community. So when I'm doing something responsible, it does connect to both myself and the community, but it's also just like something that is, it just happens versus the intention of how can I make sure that what I'm doing does have a positive impact on the community as a whole, while also supporting myself in the process. So mindful decision-making allows for intention behind each choice. It increases your integrity and maintains a heart-centered benefit for all. And the last competency within the skill progression, the last tree, is mindful social connection. And mindful social connection nurtures relationship skills and social awareness. Remember, those are those two competencies for social and emotional skill development through mindful self-connection, self-regulation, and decision-making. So all of the other trees bring us to this moment, this goal of social connection. It increases the capacity for interconnectedness, curiosity, and compassion as mindful global citizens. So all of the ecosystem, all of the trees within this forest cultivate the forest as a whole, where that forest is that mindful social connection. All mindfulness-based learning skills build to develop a mindful social connection. When we know ourselves, we can open our hearts to others genuinely. That is the purpose of that skill. Just taking a breath in if you wish, letting it integrate. And a breath out if you wish. Maybe writing anything down that speaks to you. And these are the invitations for reflection for this module. First is to notice where your current instructional practices are within the mindfulness-based learning skill progression. So in other words, if you were to look at that skill progression, would your skill, and if you were to even draw a line and like rate yourself on your own scale, where would your practices be? Would they be more towards the awareness, foundational side? Are they more towards a connected depth of learning side? Are they somewhere in between? And maybe even do that. And when you took your pre-assessment, this essentially shared that as well. But maybe this is something you can do on your own specifically to these skills themselves so that you can track your progress over time. The other invitation here is also having that skill progression. And as you are planning your instruction, no matter what content area, can you look at your alignment with your goals and outcomes within your teaching and leading? Where are they within that skill progression in whatever you're teaching and leading? And then also the last invitation is to practice articulating these definitions, either with a colleague or in our micro-credential community. So in our chat space, maybe type out some definitions that you want to start speaking out, or you could record a video and ask for feedback, or come to our mentoring sessions and we can practice together so that you really feel confident in sharing about this. Especially with the depth that is there, it takes a community for us, right, together so that we can cultivate mindful education. The resources that are linked in this module are the skill progression. We've also linked the CASEL competencies for your reference and the amazing resources that they have too. Remember, they really come together in supporting this work. And then also we've linked our mindfulness-based learning framework website as another resource for you, but also that you can share with others. It's a starting point for others. And coming back to our time. And if maybe you have that stone as we close with our 4 collective breaths, just regrounding ourselves back. It's important for us to integrate the learning. Maybe placing that stone or imaginary stone inside your hand and checking in with the body, breath, emotions, and thoughts, anything that's present. Settling in however feels best. Maybe the eyes might close. Maybe you feel the coolness of that rock or anything else that's bringing your attention to the present moment. Exhaling all the air from our lungs. Taking one breath in for ourselves. Releasing that into the world. Next breath for our staff. And releasing, creating the ripples. Next breath for our students. Exhale. And our fourth breath for society, including our communities and families. And exhale, really creating the ripples. Just taking a moment here, checking back in, letting the breath come back to its regular rhythm. Any noticings, eventually welcoming yourself back to our space together. Thank you, as always, for all you do for mindful education, and we look forward to learning together in the next module.